All right, I welcome you to Monday's money-making phone call, or I should say Zoom call. And today we wanted to see what's up, what's down, and what to do. My name is Lenska. I'm a real estate broker, but I started out as a real estate investor and always in the hunt of data and always very intrigued in the economy and in the real estate market, and obviously real estate prices, because some of my clients rely on it to make maybe a better decision. And if the prices are going down or up, and does it matter if a property cash flows well? So we're going to take a look at it, because currently right now the rental market has not collapsed. The real estate prices, we'll go into it, what they're going to do. We do have a strong mortgage purchase application data out. They are up, and also refis are up, okay? So, but delinquency rates on some of the consumer loans and credit cards are up. So it's just not enough data yet to obviously totally assess the economy from here on forward, because right now we have all that Uncle Sam's support and generosity and stimulus and relief and CARES Act. So it's hard to say where all this money printing is going to go, and especially if people are going to spend the money, right? So the Fed can only lend, but the Fed cannot make people spend the money. So how is the psychology of the American people? Because as we know, 70% of GDP is somebody really likes to say something. Whoever has that great, and I'm very sorry, I have to say right now, the NFL and basketball, no sports are happening. You guys know how many billions are even created in college sports? I heard that number today, it's $4 billion. So all these, so I might have to mute. So just mute yourselves, everybody. So that would be good. So all that money is being taken out of the economy, right? So how are we going to deal with all that collapsed demand that we're seeing? It definitely will result in some bankrupting a lot of businesses, and it will happen. Actually, it already happened, right? So debt is practically mounting in all sectors. So I'm saying consumer debt, car loan debt, student debt, we're talking everything. So the stimulus checks have practically stabilized the economy, right? And it has helped for only a few pitchforks to come out, as we have seen in the last riots and demonstrations, right? But wait, there will be more, because we have an election year. So some already talk about universal income and something like that. But even with that increased debt, obviously the world won't come to an end, even if we had $30 trillion debt, because the politicians are not interested, obviously, what will happen in 30 years. For them right now, it's how do I get elected now? So that debt will always hinder future growth. They just don't, they know it, but they just don't want to be reminded. So as much and as great as this line to live in the now is, and it's for us too, but if you guys are younger, then you will see a much more severe depression or recession again, probably in few years, if we're kind of getting out of this all in one piece, I should say, okay? So bubbles are always great. They build, 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 and we're certainly in everywhere, or every asset class is in a bubble. And when the bubble bursts, then we will really see what the price discovery is, because right now we have no price discovery. Stocks selling at their 21 PE ratio or some crazy number, right? So that's what's going on. So here we go. I'm going to share my screen, and if you already heard enough, it definitely is getting better.
You can't touch this. You can't this. Ring the bell, school.
All right, who remembers that great song, MC Hammer? All right, so with this presentation, I try to remind you to rethink real estate investing, okay? And all right, I like music, so here's my information. You get a hold of me at, here's my phone number, or lenskab@gmail.com, and I do represent sellers and buyers, or if you're in a need to list your property as well, I do flat fee listings. And if you just need a broker price opinion, I can give you that too. Or if you just want to talk about your real estate investments, give me a call, okay? And we also have a co-host who has a very interesting project going right now, because we talk about later on what to do. Leo, are you here?
I am here.
Okay. We're going to talk about Dana later on, because there are very few investments right now, I'm telling you, that are penciling out and are working out. So glad you can join us. Leo, introduce yourself quickly.
My name is Leo Clark. Been an investor almost 11 years now. I am a real estate developer and home builder in San Diego County only. I came out of the rehabbing world and started in the REO space basically at the beginning of 2010, and progression my business into building homes.
All right, what a big step. And Leo is a perfect example on how to actually make profits according what the market dictates, but it's not easy to do that. So you, Leo, already tell us a story how you saw the fix and flip market being very competitive. And
well, I came out of the corporate world, so I was always a numbers guy to begin with. So when I started in my real estate investing career, I always monitored numbers. And just like what you're going to show tonight, numbers don't lie. So in 2012, I saw the amount of competition going up in the rehab area. I saw the small to disappearing margins beginning to happen. And from that standpoint, I began to ask myself, well, how do I transition? How do I scale? How do I evolve my business? And new construction at the end of 2012 into 2013 was very minimal. So I bought my first lot at the end of 2012, built a home, sold a home, all in a matter of 5 months and 3 weeks. So I was hooked from that day forward, or that project forward per se. So I let the numbers tell me and dictate to me what I should be doing. The competition, the margins, the rehab costs, all of those play a massive piece to your business and what you should or shouldn't be doing. So yes, I'm all about numbers, and I'm looking forward to seeing what kind of numbers you're going to show us tonight on where we are sitting on price point, as well as pending sales and a few other things that I always monitor.
And that brings me to the point, so monitoring. So we have been, oh, by the way, obviously I don't have a mentoring program or home study course for 20,000 to sell or nothing. So all I'm asking you to help me grow my business. So take this meetup as a long commercial. So I don't want to sell you anything, only want to sell you on the idea that real estate is one of the best investment vehicles, and to take your own retirement in your own hands. Okay, so you can help me by writing a review or subscribe to my YouTube channel, YouTube Lenska Realty. Obviously, always push the like buttons and give us some feedback to this meeting or topics you like to hear. Always invite your friends, watch the recordings, and share, share, share. Become friends on Facebook. I'm easy to find, so or connect even on LinkedIn. And as I am a real estate broker, I would appreciate your business and referrals. So right now we're going to start a little poll, because I'd like to see if we have newbies, or we have maybe experienced, advanced investors, intermediate, or accredited investors. So I can kind of go maybe a slower or faster. And we usually have, I can't remember what we had last time, okay? So everybody listening in, it's wake up time. There's a poll, and please push a button. I'm pretty quickly, I give it maybe 30 seconds. Because last time we went much too long, which means I talk too much. Okay. All right. So there are very, you know, when we are in a live meeting, I can read your faces and I can see reactions. So the polling is one of the things to interact with you. So I am closing it out, and we got 60% newbies. We have a few advanced and intermediate, and then we have some accredited investors. So you accredited investors always like to hear from you, obviously. All right, so we are going. All right, so newbies, if this is too much, listen to the other Zoom calls, because in every Zoom call we kind of look at the market update and pick out some real estate headlines, and sometimes I have an expert or another person on the line, and then we obviously do questions and answers. So you have a share button, you have a chat button, you can give me thumbs up, hand clapping. So, and just remember, I am here to figure out, is it a good time to invest in real estate, right? And just so you know, I'm not a CPA, I'm not a financial advisor, I am not a lawyer or anything. So, and also, I don't have a crystal ball, okay? And if I had a crystal ball, it wouldn't work any better than the other crystal balls. So I'm just letting you know by graphs, stats, numbers, and facts what I see in the market. And these are hard numbers. So when I turn on my MLS in the morning, so these are the numbers I see. How many new listings we're getting, how many expireds we have, how many price changes we have, how many pendings we have. So if you look at the one from today, we had a measly 116 new listings. We had still 24 expired, right? We sold 82, but pending went 175. It's a strong number on a Monday, right? Because the weekend is over, so a very good start. Here are the key statistics, and some of you might have already heard, but it's always good to repeat. So we had a median home price of $590,000, which was a 2.6% increase over last year's median home price. If we divvy it up between detached and attached, the detached came in at 670. And as I mentioned on Saturday, that this was the number I had, 670, 2 weeks ago. But as the months progresses and the numbers are being calculated, we actually only came in at 661,000. And oh my God, what a difference. Now we're merely up 1%. Why am I so shocked about 1%? Because this number is usually 8, 6 or 8 or 7% because we're talking June, right? Everybody knows, when do we make money in real estate? In the first 6 months. And then seasonal or for the year adjusted, once we get to December, where prices usually go down, that appreciation comes down to 5 or 6%. So if we are right now only at 1%, we're actually not doing too good. But the good news is it takes very little time to sell, and pending sales have been improving a lot over April. Okay, I got a little timing issue in here. So just to go back, the inventory on the active listings detached is down, let's call it 50%, or on attached, it's down 22%. So price per square foot lays within 421, and sold listings in May were down 50%. So that goes in with California overall. Every county, everybody was down, but San Diego is still faring fairly good because June started out pretty well. Not only that, because obviously in order to sell some houses, we need to have some inventory. Now, we don't have inventory. We're currently at 2,360, but we're up from coming from 1,815. But see those peaks? These are usually the May, June peaks, and we're definitely in the 3,400 range, right? So inventory is down again a third, okay? And that's for detached. And then let me pull up the attached is the same story. So now this is here week by week. And as we can see, so when we, the coronavirus were kind of winding down, and we kind of knew we would be still selling homes, but we had to put a mask on, and vacant homes are okay, but owner occupied were merely sold with virtual tours. You had to show a pre-qualification letter before owners would actually let you see the houses. So you can see in the week 3 in May, we had pendings a half, or less obviously than new listings. So then in May 4, we had a little bit more listings and also more pendings, okay? So then the pendings crept out. So June, week 1, I assume everybody said, okay, that's the new reality. Why holding off? I'm sick and tired sharing the office with my husband, or my husband and 2 kids. So people got really active. So then June, second week in June, we actually, pendings were more than new listings. So, and then I assume the sellers woke up and said, wow, everybody is selling and putting the house on the market. So I need to sell mine too. So let's do this. So this is critical because that shows you. So if we had many, many more listings coming on and not pendings, then we would have a problem. Or it's really not a problem. A buyer's an equal market between buyers and sellers is, or a balanced market is 6 months of inventory. So currently we have 2 months of inventory. So, and here's always what we like to look at. We look week by week, how many units were sold. And you guys can see, so we're April, we went from 437 finally to 529 in the last week here, okay? So we're bouncing back. Still the same inventory. So if you fix and flippers are listening, or you still want to do fix and flip, I cannot see why you wouldn't do it. But compared to last month where I said, go ahead and you know, don't worry. So right now you need to put in a little bit of safety margin, depends on what type of inventory you're fixing and flipping, because you see, this is the inventory people want to buy. A 3.2, 1,600 square feet or 1,500. See how fast it's selling? I mean, homes are literally flying off the market, okay? But we do have some concessions. List prices were lower. And the sold price is, the last week was at 615,000. We had a little dip here, May 15th. Yeah, these should be red numbers, okay? I don't have an assistant. I do all these numbers myself and the slides as well. So, but in April, that 638, because if something sold in April, it went into escrow in probably February, right? So mid-April, it takes right now 4 to 6 weeks to close. So there was no coronavirus influence. Then we hit it, price dropped, price stayed dropped. Then we got a little spike here, and then we're kind of hovering around. It's not falling off the cliff, but we definitely have a discrepancy between sellers that are holding on strong to their sales prices and buyers that think, hey, we're in a crisis, I expect to get a deal, okay? So then we're looking at attached versus detached, because I believe that condos are not moving as good because everybody wants a house, right? And two, for us, what to do, remember, was the headline. So are we going to buy a condo or are we going to buy a single family home? For all you people, the shortcut right here is the appreciation. So the condos made a 3.75 return, and single family homes in June made about 6.5%, right? So it used to be that actually condos appreciated better. So if you have been listening to some of my other market updates, also you see condos take a little longer to sell compared to detached homes. All right, what market are we in? Okay, here's another of my polls. Are we in a seller's market or are we in a buyer's market? And the follow-up questions is, are you currently invested or are investing in San Diego? And that always gives me an opportunity to have a sip of water. All right, for you newbies, you might not know exactly yet if we're a seller's market or buyer's market, but hint, I said we only have 2 months of inventory right now, and a balanced market is 6 months inventory. All right, I think you can change your opinion, I think. All right, I took too long. I gave you a little extra time to think about it. So I'm going to close the polling. And all right, people are paying attention. We got 83% think we are in the seller's market. And whoever answered buyer's market, you're probably correct. You're probably living in Rancho Santa Fe, where you have about 160 listings and only 3 per month are selling. Okay, so because in Rancho Santa Fe, it is a buyer's market. Everybody else is in a sell. So even in our San Diego County, where it is a seller's market, we have pockets where it is a buyer's market. So, and we got investing. All right, we do have investors here, and no. And if no, yes, out of state. So we have very few. I'm surprised, because usually we have more people that are invested in out of state. And again, what to do? we have a very high priced market here in San Diego. So to go for cash flow, and if you had a lot of money in the bank, would you want to keep it all in the bank, or would you invest it in the stock market, or would you invest it in real estate and maybe spread your risk a little bit? All right, now we get to the recap of the headlines, okay? Again, separating facts from fiction or frenzy, okay? Negative news sells much better. By the way, pictures of cats sell better. So next time I'm going to have a picture of my cat up here, because maybe more people will listen to these Zoom calls if I bring in some cats or babies. So, the question is reopening, recovering, reassessing, and reallocation. This will be a quick rundown on what is, okay? So the coronavirus continues to infect about 20,000 people in the US every day. So the new daily coronavirus in Arizona's climbing. I think today we had the news here in San Diego or North County that we had 300 new cases. So are we out of the woods yet? No. Okay, these are some of the 10 states, most of them concentrated in the South and West, have recently seen new record high 7-day averages of new coronavirus cases. Those states are Alabama, Arizona, California, Florida, Nevada, North Carolina, Oklahoma, Oregon, South Carolina, in Texas. So another phenomena of this stay-at-home orders, what does FOMO mean? Does anybody know?
Fear of missing out.
All right, so people are really have, Schwab alone opened 609 new accounts in the first quarter of 2020, okay? So obviously all the millennials or everybody that maybe lost their job took their $1,200 and became day traders. Grocery spending. Oh, by the way, I threw away $600 worth of groceries yesterday. I had some things in my cabinet. What are they called? Mites or
Weebles.
Yeah, something I had. I don't know really what it is, but I had to throw everything away. So for the first time in my life, I had a full pantry. I'm usually a fresh salad and fresh everything person, but because of the crisis, I stocked up a little bit too. And don't you worry, they did not get into my wine, okay? So what I did yesterday, threw all this out. But you guys can see grocery shopping is already back to a normal, and it peaked like in mid-March. The gig economy is very hard hit, okay? The coronavirus spread has exposed actually how ill-suited these service companies are for an economic disaster. So the sharing economy has proven particularly unstable in the pandemic. People who bought into the idea turned their cars into workstation for Uber and Lyft, or became couriers for food delivery services like DoorDash. They have taken a hit, but with Airbnb, the problems are broader. Hosts brought with them cleaning services, interior designers, property maintenance workers who help build miniature property empires. So the plight has ripple effect that go far beyond their own listings. And this is my point. Every economy or every part of the economy that is hit has a ripple effect or cascade or whatever you want to call it. So the bookings have recovered a little bit, but there will be a few people that will lose their properties, because if you only have one property, you might survive it. But if you have several properties, you do it, and you can file obviously for forbearance, but at some point, if the travel industry will not come back, which Airbnb CEO today on Bloomberg said that travel will never be the same, and he doesn't know where this is kind of going, and he needs more data. So for everybody that has an Airbnb, that was not good news, because if the CEO of Airbnb has not a clear path, it's pretty bad, okay? But you see it on the news, people on Pacific Beach and saying, yeah, my phone is ringing and this and that, but here we are. 2020 was off to a solid start, and then 2019, COVID 2019 happened, and it has crushed the whole hotel occupancy. I don't have any numbers on how Las Vegas is doing, but so we're down here, 2020, we're below 40%, where in 2009, actually it wasn't such a great year, obviously either, but then this is the median. So 2009 was a worse year, and then 2019 was a okay year, but obviously the hotel occupancy already was dropping. So according to the Apple data, public transit in the US is still only about 45% of the January level. So that is about a 31% in New York and 63% in Houston. So this is the transit traveled, and this is where it is coming back. So when the news media says to you, oh yeah, we are up 40%. Yeah, we're up 40% from what? From 20? Okay, so, and also gasoline consumption is still down under 80%. So we're doing better, but will it be enough to hold off a depression? Consumer spending is stalling. So even so, with all the checks, and that some people are getting the $600 federal unemployment plus state unemployment, so people got smarter and they're saving more money. So this top slide is a seated dinner on Open Table Network. We're still below 50%. Obviously, we will be for a long time. It really, it hurts. I feel for the restaurant owners that can only have an occupancy now of 30–40%. It's a small profit margin business anyways. They need a full house in order to make money. Retail also obviously fell off the cliff, right? But the savings rate went up to 33%. We call this a recovery. These are the TSA numbers showing the daily totals travelers throughout 2019 in blue and 2020 in red. So on June 14th, there were 544 travelers compared to 2.6 million a year ago. So that's a decline of nearly 80%. There has been a steady increase from the bottom, but air travel is still down significant. And they say that airlines will take a long time to recover, especially if you have to fly over an ocean or for business travel, because people really realize that they can have productive Zoom meetings, okay? So then obviously China production concern turned into a USA and a global consumer spending problem. So no business, no jobs, no income, right? So less freight is being moved. So, and these are facts, right? So here you can say definitely that less freight is moving, which means less stuff is being imported or distributed. So that is down. And look at the 1929, how it came from here, and it just came crashing down. So this was pretty volatile. So now we're like pretty much like 1939. So more trucks on the road. So yes, we're coming back, but you see how we came down. So this chart shows an index of prices that truckers actually charge to move goods per mile, okay? So the index, this is just an index to also see where the consumer demand lands, right? So here is the, obviously people using the forbearance to file whether for forbearance and do everything they can, but the credit card default index is up for the first time in 8 years by 4.23% last month. And probably a lot of people charge things to their credit card because they needed food and whatever else they needed. So these are the numbers to watch. And 9% of mortgages are in forbearance, and they say it's leveling off. But yes, those numbers are leveling off, but the 30-day delinquency number was up today, okay? So these are all behind the story numbers that we need to really keep an eye on. And especially with all these forbearances, I think Freddie and Freddie said, oh yeah, I have it right here, that they extend the eviction and the foreclosure moratoria, okay? So Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac will extend their single family moratorium on foreclosures and eviction until at least August 31st. Isn't that convenient? 31st, August, September, October, November. So just at the end of November, we maybe see some filings, right? So it's beyond the elections. So it was supposed to expire June 30th. So we already see some of the deadlines and relief orders being extended. But on the other hand, we see that 2 landlords filed lawsuits because they think it's unconstitutional to not hear the eviction cases that have nothing to do with the COVID-19, because you can, obviously, you're supposed to work it out with your tenants and everything if they cannot pay due to Corona virus, right? But there was an overstep of the California, they deal with the California court calendars, and that is just an overstepping. So that's what that lawsuit is all about. So the tenants that have not paid rent, one since January damaged property, disturbed other tenants, and one was arrested on drug and firearms charges. Neither tenant has claimed any of COVID-19's injury. Even so, these cases are not being heard because the courts are closed. Oh, do we have, I hope we have a rental or landlords on the call. And did I share the results with you on this last one? I hope. So that was the last one. So let me pull up the new poll. I want to see if you have a rental, if you have, share results. You have rentals, please. I have the poll up. You don't have rental properties, just say no. And yes, and your tenants have paid above 80%, or yes, between 50 and 80, or yes, below 50%. So there are 2 different stories. When it comes to the institutional apartment owners, they say they have received 80% of the rent. But when it came to the mom and pop investors, the story was different, that they got partial rent or only received 70% paid their rent. So which means some of you mom and pop manage the properties yourself. And in those times, it might actually pay off to have a property manager, okay? So, but yes, above 80. So it seems in San Diego, people are paying their rents. And I have heard it from local property managers that they are paying their rent. That might be right now, because if they do lose their jobs, But right now they're sitting on $600 per week, plus the state unemployment. And that is probably more than what they made as a server or in the service industry overall. So everybody heard that the trend is to go from urban to suburban, especially due to the social distancing, and that some of the benefits to live in a city is simply right now very much restricted. And if you can work from anywhere, then you could save some money. So how about making a San Francisco salary, but maybe living in Nevada or Utah, where in Utah the median home price is $280, and in San Francisco it's $1.5 million. Oh, I didn't find a cat, but I found that. All right, this is just an index that Fannie Mae puts out every month, and it's a home purchasing sentiment, and it's kind of a index that is a combination out of several questions, and we'll get into it. I think I have it. Oh, there we go. Oh, go back. All right, so it first did a pretty decline, but now we're back. Hold on. This is moving too fast for me. So right now we're at 67. So it took a deep dive down to 60 or 63 points. Now we're up to 67.5. We were lower in 2011, but that's where we investors like it, right? So the component consists out of these questions. Is it a good time to buy, good time to sell? Will prices go up, down, and how much do you think that you will lose your job? So right now, every other person is concerned about losing their job, okay? That is obviously up from last year. And also the home price outlook here is minus year over year. So people think prices will go down, okay?
Question, Lenska.
Yep.
So if only 24% are concerned about losing their job, and yet you show a net not concerned 1%.
Yep. Yeah, it's 75% minus 24. So the net is they deduct the 24 from the 75.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah, it's a little hard because they have that double negative in there. Every time I read those numbers, I have to, I kind of look at their explanation. And for the household income, remember, by the way, I had an aha moment. Remember how I always said, actually, this is not highlighted this time, but the change in household income, we only can sell more houses if this number is going to go up. And I couldn't understand why, if we have no unemployment, remember in May, we were down to 3.2%, right? Why are wages not going up? Wait, I have that answer later. So currently, the net result is right here that that it's unchanged, that people think they're going to have a higher, they have currently a higher income than last year. So again,
part of my question is, why isn't that 100% number, you know, down, because 18 and 19% of 100 doesn't really, I mean, why don't we have a total where it equals out to 100%?
And then no changes is the rest, I assume. So there are detailed stats to all these. Yeah. We could spend an hour on those numbers. Yeah. So I think the trend is, like we always say in real estate, the trend is kind of important, that a lot of people thought selling your house is not a good idea. Yeah, but months over months in May, at least people came back and actually said, hey, you know, I want to buy a house. So sellers are very timid. And why are they? that struck me odd, because why would a seller say unfavorable economic conditions? As long as a buyer can qualify, right? Put that house on the market. So these are the reasons why sellers said it's a bad time to sell, okay? So that the difficulty for buyers to qualify, it got a little harder, right? Banks are really getting tough, obviously, and then we have some other reasons. But mortgage rates, and that's what's carrying us right now. Mortgage rates are so low that even buying a vacation home for yourself in Big Bear for where you can have a vacation. If you have 2 kids and you want to go someplace, you know, what are you going to do? So still, your mortgage payment is $1,500, including HOA and property tax. But if you could later on make a vacation rental out of it, it's still not a bad investment. Yeah, Leo, to your point, so homeowners were celebrated because we just had 0.6% up, right? No biggie, but home builders are really struggling with what inventory they are able to build, especially in California. They are not able to build any first-time home buyer inventory. As you can see, that pink number, can you see it actually? Yeah, pink number is over 400, and that's a US number, right? So you see it, how it has shifted from the below 150,000 up to the 400,000. So, and that's a challenge in California. Here I thought it was interesting. Flipping is still good. So flipping is still up, but the flipping profits are down. Okay, and you see we have Los Angeles a couple of times on that list. So we have flipping gross profits is that blue line. And the home flipping has gradually taken up a larger portion of the housing market over the last couple of years, but profits are down and are lower than they have been since the dark days following the Great Recession, which is a sign that investors aren't keeping up with price increases in the broader market. Okay, and that's according to
well, also keep in mind that all they can see is what you bought it for and what you sold it for. They have no clue what you put into it.
Yeah, but if the gross profit margins are down,
yes, the nets are down.
Yeah, so that tells you, and that's what, by the way, if we ever go back to in-person meetings or we do it actually online, Leo and I, we run what do we call a whiteboard where we analyze a fix and flip and the numbers. So stay tuned for that. Housing starts.
Hey, Lenska?
Yeah.
I don't understand that assertion down there. A sign that investors, go back please.
Yeah.
A sign that investors aren't keeping up with price increases in the broader market. What the heck does that mean?
That is a term for that they're losing money.
But how could investors not keep up with price increases? Does that mean the flippers aren't asking enough for their properties and that's why their net is down?
They're not buying at the right price.
Yeah.
They're buying too high.
Yeah, and remember, we have no foreclosures, we have no deals, like no short sales, not a lot of distressed properties. I mean, the big margins.
Well, that makes sense, Leo and Lenska both, but that's not what that says. I can't extrapolate that from what that says.
Yeah.
Well, they're basically saying that flippers aren't watching how people are buying too high.
And that's why we do those calls to get everybody also, you know, into the tune, what is happening. So, right. And the housing starts, we all know, are also down, right? And the red line is the multifamily. So a lot of multifamily has been built, but not enough single family homes, as we all know, because every home development here in San Diego County is sold out super quickly, even if it's a larger, like even with a large HOA and a large Melrose down in Escondido, that last big KB Homes development. All right, but home builders are super optimistic towards residential real estate. First of all, Governor Newsom, and I mean, I'm optimistic because we were listed as essential business, construction and real estate brokerages, okay? Then the California home building market was dominated by the multifamily construction over the last 2 years, but recent construction has slowed. So I think we will see a little oversupply on the apartment type, but California builders face high costs that keep some buyers out of the market. So again, here to build entry-level houses is very hard, right? But the price point in which we can build in California is 3 times more expensive than in other states. That is because of the high fees we pay in the long term, delays we have to endure, and our prices are going up during COVID. So demand is great and people want a product. It's just the price point at which we can deliver that is just so high compared to income levels and ability to pay. So that practically tells you everybody is put on notice that we're at the top of the market, right? And again, it brings me down to if people don't make more money, they can't afford those houses. So we think we have no supply, right? But in the crisis where we are right now and with the high prices we have, we're pretty much okay with supply and demand. And that's why the builders are happy too, because they get their high prices. If they would build more, then we would have more inventory and people had more options. So are we just working off that kind of pent up demand and the last few buyers that were out there and couldn't get homes while we had multiple offers in 2 years of hot real estate market, and now are just pressured by psychological thinking, I gotta get a house because COVID-19. So here we are, the US economy shrank. You see how quickly numbers changed at 5% in the first quarter. So it doesn't sound too bad, right? But remember, first quarter, we only had 2 weeks of COVID. I don't even want to think about what the second quarter is going to look like. If this looks like where this red line is going on the consumer confidence, we're in free fall. And who would have known I have another poll? All right, so how do you feel about the economy? You think we have a V-shaped recovery? We have a deep recession, a lost decade? And if you guys don't know what I meant by lost decade, we are compared to Japan, who printed up so much money and supported the economy for so many years that the proof is in the pudding that Japan's debt is holding back future economic growth. All right, I assume, and no, this is not a live picture of my bottle of wine on my desk. I didn't have the entire bottle yet. Let's see how many optimistic people we have. Well, people are thinking, maybe we are in a depression. And there are obviously, are we in a recession? That means two quarters of negative GDP. And I apologize, I forgot what it qualifies to be in a depression, but I think it's 25% unemployment rate. Okay, So the people that are having a glass of wine and have not one finger to pull, I'm going to close it. So we have optimistic people on the call. So you still have been listening too much to the general news. I assume I didn't scare you enough. Then let me keep continue. So if everybody wants to get a glass of wine or beer, now would be the time, because I'm going to re-poll this after those numbers. Okay, which jobs will come back? 50 million lost their job. Some people will say, hey, people told me 26. So we were at 36 at some point, but that 36, what you see in the regular numbers, does not include the self-employed, the underemployed, the part-timers. So the unemployment is much higher than what you think. And if it's 50 million or 48 or 40, it really doesn't matter because it's out of this world, okay? What is also not—
Quiet.
Okay. I hope this was meant for your kids or your dog. So I'll keep talking. So what is also obviously important, how long are you going to be on unemployment? Because the claims are going to stack up, right? So only once before, in the middle of the Great Recession, did continuing claims even rise above 5 million. So, and we are stacking them up like crazy. Unemployment was said to be at 25% in San Diego, according to Sandac. And I tried to get a little bit more data or update it, but it didn't change. They still say, and it kind of makes sense. Actually, I wanted to— no, I don't have that chart. I thought I had it because tourism and the service industry is our second a part of our San Diego economy, right? But it's very clearly to see that the less education you have, the higher you are, the unemployment rate is higher, okay? And this brings me to the point that why did wages not go up? So if you look at where the employment went, remember right now we're renegotiating with China, and we know that we have no manufacturing jobs. So back in the 70s, 80s, we went through a reallocation of the labor market. So everybody was in manufacturing, right? And then these jobs were shipped overseas. So that red line, you see it's going down, down, down. But where did those jobs go, right? I mean, we still had prosperity and everything. So let me go see if I have that slide. Try to explain. So this actually, these jobs from manufacturing all went into real estate. Okay, so did you really need a super duper education in real estate? And the service sector was hugely increased. And so workers can either change careers, which might require expensive and time-consuming education, or move someplace that has a job matching their skills. Neither is easy. It's similar to the way outsourcing and technology eliminated US manufacturing in the last downturn. So a lot of people will not get their jobs back, not right away, okay? So we go through times when the world changes. Business and workers must adapt, and that's where we are right now. The whole COVID-19 put this entire job reallocation on the speed track, right? Because what are temporary lost jobs and what is going to be the permanent jobs? So this time the service industry workers are the unlucky ones, and except the shock is happening much faster, right? We were anyways having problems because if we have so many people working in the service industry where you need no education and nothing, that's the reason why our wages didn't go up. So, and we see it right here. Corporate profits soaring, wages and salaries actually went down if you compare it, if you have it for inflation adjusted. And that's why we have the haves and not haves right now. And this is why people go on the streets, right? So the most troubling outlook is practically, it hurts if you're employed for longer than 6 months. Current federal unemployment benefits are right now $600 per week, assuming a 40-hour week equals $15 an hour, plus the state portion, which varies. That means the bottom 30% of US workers are better off keeping unemployment as long as they can, especially the bottom 20%. Even the 40% percentile might be better off taking the unemployment benefits as they have no cost of getting to and from work or have to get childcare. So if you all figure that out, people are not rushing back to get their service jobs back. Not only that, but usually the unemployment is a good indicator of bankruptcy filings to come, which puts on pressure on commercial real estate, right? So UBS did a little research and they came up with a lot of store closures, obviously. Not home improvement, which surprised me, auto parts. I thought you can get them online too, but so consumer electronics, sporting goods, home furnishing, and so on and so on. So everything is shifting online and we know it. So if your business cannot restructure how to do things online, you better get with the program. Who are the big winners? I told you, remember the subject line said, what's down and what's up? I mean, there must be something must be up. So obviously e-commerce and food are the big winners, right? Unfortunately, losers outnumber the winners. Clothing, gasoline, electronics, food service, and drinking places and autos highlight the sectors that are at risk for future job cuts. Should the current sales levels be sustained in coming months? So the 5 red categories represent 11 million payroll jobs, more than twice the 5.3 million of the 4 groups that are in green. What I'm trying to say with all those last couple of slides, how are you going to pay for a mortgage and how are you going to buy a house if you don't have a good job? Nor do you want to held down or be anchored by a mortgage right now. If you don't have a job, you need to be very mobile to maybe move or, you know, maybe go to school or do anything. So a mortgage will tie you to a house. We talked about commercial property. We will see some adjustment anyways in the office and retail businesses. As we know, 30% of, only 30% of the mall rents were collected. But what is really, and if you don't remember anything, maybe remember this one for the next crisis, okay? So what is the best indicator to warn you of a crisis coming soon? And people always say it's the inversion of the yield curve, which happened to be in August. And I talked about it before, right? But that is practically a rundown of the timeline, what has happened. And believe it or not, JP Morgan or Citigroup or all these hedge funds, they know exactly. August, it happened. And September, the Fed started up buying, putting liquidity into the market. So practically coronavirus, yes or no, right? But everybody already knew that crisis was coming without COVID. So COVID just put fuel on the fire, and that makes everybody scrambling, except, you know, obviously right now we're happy because the Fed is buying everything from bonds to ETFs to corporate debt, which I call, and no, not a lot of people react to me on Facebook if I kind of put a post on that it is the backdoor bailouts for BlackRock and Associates, right? So if you see what these ETFs, how much they are and how much they get bailed out, can you imagine you're buying a house on your credit card? You put all the rehab costs on the credit card, and then this is your debt, and the Fed is buying your debt and puts that money in your account so you can keep going doing deals. Wouldn't you love that? So that is happening to Wall Street. That's why the stock market, that's the easiest way how I can explain how we get to that inflated stock market. And I say it is inflated, but where else should the money go? Okay. And oh my God, I actually made it. I think I made it, yes. I probably have a few more, but I'm going to stop sharing. And here are just a few things for you guys to, don't forget to exercise. Your health right now is the most important part. I would totally agree. You should invest in some of the online exercise class. Start learning how to cook. Or even I see a lot of kids and dads and moms riding the bicycles. I think that is also one of the winners, whoever sells those electrical bikes. And now is the time to study, to read, to research, learn a new skill set, write a business plan, listen to audiobooks, and obviously listen more to my webinars, and also to network and make new connections, because right now it's important. And I just wanted to remind you to meet like-minded people. SDCIA is the San Diego Creative Investor Association, a 500 member strong club for investors. It's very educational, and they meet the second Tuesday of every month. There are other great clubs. There's one in North County. It's called North San Diego County Association of Investors. And then actually Bill Tan, I saw his name on the call, and he has a great club up in LA and has really good speakers as well. Bill, are you still on?
Yes.
Oh, good. Tell us about your club and when do you meet?
We meet on the second Wednesday of every month, plus additional meetings as needed.
Okay, can you put your meetup in the chat?
I'm on a phone, so I can't do it.
Oh, you can, okay, so tell me, then I'll type it in.
Okay. LA RIA Club, LAREIA.
Oh, okay, all right, LA RIA, and it's on Meetup, right? Okay, so Bill is on the phone, so I put it
Gmail.
in the chat.
That's an email, and then LA RIA. Just Google in Meetup.
Yeah, I put in an LA RIA, okay. So, yeah, Bill is super knowledgeable. You have a great networking section before the meeting, and usually there are a lot of wise people that have done a lot of deals. Okay, just ask yourself, because I'm not going to share my screen again, if you would have answered the question on if you see a different recovery. Do you still think we have a V recovery? All right, I want to hear from anybody else that wants to speak up.
I don't think we'll see a V recovery. I don't think it'll be short and quick, but I don't think it'll be a total collapse unless some of the government decisions in the next year or so stop facilitating the recovery?
I think this one right now, this is the best recovery money can buy. And the Fed still can, there's another trillion or $2 trillion infrastructure package out there, which it sounds infrastructure, but it is about 5G and putting us all on, the better internet so we can communicate better and can do the self-driving cars and AI. And there's a lot of medical research that is being done. And there are a lot of good things where we can work, but the problem is really we don't have enough educated people. So China produces 500 engineers, and I don't know how per many, but we only educate like 50. So there's a huge discrepancy, right, between what knowledge and education we need now for this new revolution. Let's call it the internet revolution of all things, right? And today, President Trump is just going to stop all the H-1B1 visas, which companies can hire from out of the country some talent.
Yeah, but most of that doesn't really impact economics in a massive way. Economics are impacted by, let's just look at the small business sector. The small business sector is impacted massively through what's going on. Aside from the COVID, it's the riots and other things going on that are impacting economics of small businesses. If we have, I don't know, let's just use a percentage of 25, 30% of small businesses fold permanently, we got a massive issue. There's where the economics begin to change.
I think one of the bigger issues for the small business is what you talked about, and the fact that the lower educated are the highest unemployed, and small business, especially like restaurant, retail, travel, entertainment, they often hire that demographic, and it's definitely impacting them in a great way where they would rather stay home, and they can actually get paid more to stay home right now. And as long as that continues as it is right now, I think that'll be potentially even more devastating than just the lockdown was.
Yeah, we need to get small businesses back up and running. That should be our number one focus. Aside from bringing down the COVID numbers, if small businesses can't open fully and get back to doing what they do, then we got one issue. And then if they close permanently and there's the space that no one wants to go in and lease due to whatever reason, that's a separate issue. So that whole sector of our country, the small business owner, that's something that's not being talked about in a massive way. And how do we get that piece of our economics fixed is what I look at. Because the city of La Mesa that I'm building in, I'm constantly watching what's going to happen with all these small businesses that were affected by the riots, as well as other things going on. So in the city of La Mesa, just that city alone, they've got a lot of small businesses that are closed permanently. And there's where you got to have a change within the city's environment to go get people back in those spaces or bring those businesses back.
I totally agree, Leo, with you, but I have to say we need more engineers. We need more computer AI, anybody that can write a code, because this is where it's going. I mean, this temper will, yes, small business need to come back, but I am afraid I kind of don't see it.
Well, look at the number one hiring source out there right now. It has nothing to do with AI. It's all about labor. Home Depot's number one hiring right now. So across the country, Home Depot and Lowe's, as well as other large companies like that, are the number one hiring source. So
Yeah, fun fact, McDonald's announced the other day that they're trying to hire 262,000 people nationally, but they can't get people to put them in the restaurants because at the rates that they employ people, it's cheaper or it's more profitable for them to stay home on unemployment. So McDonald's can't even sell hamburgers and keep their doors open, which is a problem. I invest in rentals.
Franchise. Most all McDonald's are franchise, so that's a small business owner that's struggling to put people in his building.
That's right.
Yeah.
So, again, back to the small business has been the backbone of our country for eons. And if we don't focus on the small business owners out there, whether they own a McDonald's or 100 of them, or whether they own one small jewelry shop, we're going to have a bigger problem with our economics than we've ever, contemplated, because without them, we're in deep trouble. So until we see that number, until we see those true statistics behind who's still in business, staying in business, bringing people back to work, until we see those numbers, we really are in a gray area. Just my opinion.
Yeah, but how to stay competitive in a global setting, we gotta push more on education. And education cannot cost $200,000.
And that's another thing that's coming at us. How do you educate the masses with this COVID-19, piece of the puzzle that they want to implement smaller class sizes and, restrict how you go to school, restrict how you go out and receive whatever education is, whether it's elementary or college or higher education. That's going to change how people get educated.
Yeah, and the whole education piece needs to be disrupted, because it takes future growth away. Again, debt is going to drag you down in one way or another. Even if we're talking, the Fed printing up some more money and maybe really hopefully relieving, maybe we have a whole debt jubilee where every debt is being forgiven and reset. Wouldn't that be nice? Just not for the people who pay cash and save, right? But the education, first thing is, the programs the Fed had with the PPP and those idle loans, they were supposed to get the small business open. But if you have no demand, honestly, I maybe should put another poll out there. Do you want to go to a restaurant and sit there with a mask?
I did this weekend. I at least got in there.
Yeah, you get in with a mask and you can sit at your table without a mask. Sure.
Yeah, it was awkward, but I'm so glad I was actually able to go inside.
So this is awkward. So I today canceled my massage until I read the fine print about what I need to do in order to get on that massage table. And I cannot lay on the massage table with a mask. So what did I do? I went online and looked at Costco's massage chairs. You guys know how expensive those are?
Yeah, very.
Yeah.
The good ones. So next meeting, I start charging $1,000 because one is $5,000.
See, so
the next meeting, you're going to be in a chair. You're going to be passed out like.
Yes.
Yeah, I would have kept that massage appointment just to see what it is that I have to go through to even get my second massage. So until we get people out there just doing what we have to do with the coronavirus, we don't know truly what the long-term outcome is. So
unfortunately, at first I thought, okay, we're really, everything is held up until I think we get a vaccine. And let me tell you, here in California, I think 70 or at least 50% are very concerned about the virus and are not wanting to venture out and do anything. So the buyer psychology, or the regular person's psychology on how they're going to conduct business is just going to change. So how is it going to change, and how do we adjust also in real estate? The home builders did beautiful, right? They have virtual tours, and and they have all their options online. You can buy. Will apartments, you know, really be the loser, or are home builders going to build homes for rent rather than apartments?
Yeah, Blackstone, I think, is putting in lots of billions of dollars, something in the tune of like 250,000 home construction in the Southwest, probably not California, but like Nevada, Arizona, Utah, and they're going to build hundreds of thousands of homes for rent. It's a huge project that they've announced, and they've got a ton of capital raised for it, which will be pretty amazing to see. So
Yeah.
that may be the future, that we move more towards like a European economy, slowly, step by step, where the homeowner, the landlord, is a rare thing, and they own the majority of the real estate, or at least the lion's share of it.
Yeah, and all our malls and retail space, can we even if hotels go belly up, can we repurpose those hotels as low income housing, right? Or convert the malls to maybe grocery or delivery, Amazon distribution center, and have condos up on top. I mean, in Europe, the shopping and living together is pretty close. I mean, Europe is challenged with space to begin with, right? But yeah, so will we see some Prop 13 being changed, and maybe that money being used? And we haven't talked about all the lower income and taxes income, and will it affect the cities? I mean, as much as it sounds like defund the police and this and that, but you know, will we have the funds to do what the cities want to do? So there are lots of open questions. I have to bring it back to real estate. So what to do? So if you guys have moments, I mean, I can still say fix and flip with caution, right? Have the right inventory. If you invest, make sure you might want to buy, you have too much money in the bank, you need to invest. Always buying a piece of property that you can rent out and add a ADU is always an option to increase your rental income. And I always believe, and it was said by Robert Campbell or even Bruce Norris, that Bruce Norris is always into Florida, new construction, or if you invest in trust deeds, which means private money lending. And we had a great call. And Leo, maybe tell us what you're doing, because we are still, since we have a few more minutes, I'm going to see that video.
You're going to show the video?
Yeah, can you see it?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, so tell us about your project there.
But it's not playing.
Yeah, hold on.
Oh, there it goes. Okay, there it goes. Yeah, 3 new homes, City of La Mesa, single story, 2 of them with ADUs. So the new owners will have a rental component right away, whether they want to utilize that or not. Or if they are, you know, bringing in mom or dad or a kid out of college back home, whatever. So 2 of these homes will have ADU. All 3 of them kind of fit the neighborhood. If you look around in this video, you see all single story homes. Most of them are anywhere from 1,100 to 1,300 square feet. These are over 2,000 square feet on each home. So each home has a little bit difference to one another. So there's no 2 alike. All 3 are different. All 3, none of them will have an HOA or Melrose. All of them will have good sized parcels in comparison to the neighborhood. So yeah, this is something I've always focused on as far as financing goes, private money. So this is a private funding project. So no hard money loans, no bank institution money, all private money.
Okay, and so I want to make the point that the prices, let's take 800,000. I like the round number. So if you are 35 or 40 years old and you have a good job and you buy a house for 800,000, you have your saved up, and your mortgage is you put 10% down, and your mortgage is $700 dollars plus insurance and everything. But then you have rental income from like $1,600 or $1,800. You could still come pretty close to live for like $2,500 to $3,000 in a nice 3-bedroom, 2-bath, 2-car garage house, and rent out the ADU, or can have your parents close, or even work from home and save the money on the office. So you don't have to worry about repairs and this and that. It's brand new. And if you're still also young and you got to pay it off in 30 years, because the houses that are selling now for $680,000 in San Diego, you could buy 30 years ago for $200,000. So real estate is sometimes a long-term play, but to be a private investor on that project could give you a good return short-term, and you can touch and feel it, and you will get lots of drone footage updates on our construction site. So Leo, put your name in the chat, please, or your phone number, so people,
Sure,
if they are interested, to come down and also join Lenska Realty on YouTube and Facebook. Once we are pouring those slabs, and as you can tell, I'm invested as a real estate broker, but I also have my funds invested in it. So, because talk is cheap, right? But action. And so you can come down or dial in when we have the slab pouring. We're going to have it live, because it's always the most exciting part in construction. I don't know. Because it's such good teamwork, and you have to be in such harmony between the concrete pumps, drums, the come and go, and the spreading of the concrete. It's always amazing to see. So if you have questions, you have my phone number and contact info, and you have Leo's. And does anybody else have a question I didn't answer yet?
Hi, Lenska.
Yeah.
Lenska, this is Andy McMullen. How are you? It's good to see you.
Good.
Leo, can I ask you a question? I was on a call with you not too long ago, and you'd mentioned that your strategy post-COVID has not changed. Obviously,
right,
we've been on for another month or so.
right.
I'm curious if any of those projects that you were working on in your pipeline you let go.
No.
Interesting.
And well, you got to keep in mind now, and here's something that we didn't talk about. We have and still have a housing shortage. We've had a housing shortage for quite a few years, and we've never got to the level that we should be at as far as producing homes. So when we have a housing shortage and we still have demand and we still have low interest rates, and again, until we know our true unemployment number, it's still, a gray area, but again, we had low unemployment. We still have a pent-up demand out there due to a housing shortage. We are selling homes today with the COVID issue for the past 2 or 3 months, however we want to market, still better than last year. So home prices are still better than last year. So from that standpoint, I see those numbers not changing. We're not going to, in the next 3, 5, 6, 12 months, we're not going to change the amount of housings or amount of units that we actually need in order to, meet the demand. So with that happening, and with interest rates even going lower, no, I have not even considered changing my building strategy. Not yet.
Great to know. Yeah, thank you.
Okay, anybody else? I love all those questions. They're good. Okay. Everybody happy? Everybody has their dinner in front of them and want to get to dinner. So, which brings me to a point. I think I know exactly what my next Zoom call is going to be about.
Food?
Now, yeah, that would be nice. Yeah, let's all bring our favorite pizza next time to the meeting. I think I'm going to run through some of the indicators of real estate, or what indicators are influencing real estate prices. Like, for example, obviously employment, right? But like job formation and like baby boomers versus millennials, maybe. So I think it will be good to see how our demographics play out. And that's why we changed the floor plans on that La Mesa project. So
Yes.
I think when we were originally planning.
We saw that 2 years ago coming.
Yeah.
Yeah, Lenska, I think that would be a great topic. I agree wholeheartedly with Leo on the supply and demand situation. That's generally the golden rule when it comes to business of any sort or any investment. And with San Diego specifically, I just don't believe that San Diego is going to give that up so quickly. When you look at all the coastal California markets, LA, San Francisco, Orange County, San Diego is a deal compared to all of them.
Sure
it's
is.
super cheap, price per square foot, location, quality of life, blah, blah, blah. San Diego is a deal. We have the Pacific Pivot, which will bring in millions of jobs, millions of people. We have just decreasing supply every year over year. We have a young population in San Diego through the biotech industry that keeps bringing in young, healthy people. And it's true, California has a net loss of migration, but a lot of that is retirees or people on kind of the lower economically challenged scale. And so with San Diego, it's just more people who are well-educated, biotech, military, and the supply is a never-ending problem. So I can't see that it would be just an all-out fire sale.
And just, what was it, last week or the week before, where the chairman of the Fed said they are not going to raise rates even through next year. So we know going into 2022, we're either going to be at where we're at or lower on interest rates. So when you see that, we're talking an 18-month span. That just, to me, is more appealing than where do we end up, this time next summer on interest rates. Well, we're pretty much almost assured we're going to be at the same rate or lower.
And that is the good news, because remember, in 2018, they raised the rates a little bit, and sure enough, the market came or pushed the pause button, I should say.
Yes, it did.
But isn't it, in all that uncertainty we have from health to business to, we know for sure, and I liked how the Fed put it, they said,
yes,
we're not even thinking about
about it,
raising the interest rates.
We're not even thinking about it.
Yeah.
So that, if I'm a home buyer today, that just makes me feel really good that I've got a really good interest rate, as long as I can qualify for it, that I will never ever see again. So that's a big plus.
Yeah.
Hey guys, I just texted you Lenska earlier. I opened up escrow yesterday, well today actually, officially on a new deal in Claremont, and my rate is going to blow your mind. It's 2.625% with a 1.25 point lender credit, and I mean that's just insane. It's basically free money. So
yeah, and
so why, the question becomes, why don't more people want to buy homes? That's the biggest question.
Yeah, that's exactly right, Leo. When I saw from what the bank was telling me what they were going to finance us at, I basically, my wife and I were like, we're absolutely stupid if we don't go buy a house right now. As long as we can make the numbers work and build some value into it over the next 10 years, if I don't capitalize on that 2.6% rate, I'm just an idiot.
And not to say, it's a bad thing, but there's also underlying conditions on why people don't want to be a homeowner. But we have to change that whole dynamics, because home ownership does so much more than just being a lifetime renter. And for us in San Diego, especially the VA sector, because that's what we focus on. We focus on veterans owning homes. They have the best program out there compared to anybody else. And why more vets aren't buying homes is always my question, because it's the best time to buy as a vet.
Yes, and the VA rate is around 2.75. No down payment.
No down payment and no cap on how much you can borrow.
Yeah, negotiate that the seller pay for the closing cost, and yeah. So we just all need to get the word out. So I think that is a great note to, unless anybody else has a question, but by now you should have spoken up. Kyle, I see Kyle Myers. I see your name on the list. Give us feedback on your Carlsbad fix and flip. See if he's coming on. Kyle, are you still there? Maybe yes. All right. So he has a great fix and flip. I was super impressed by his design capabilities and how he turned that outdated, obsolete floor plan around. I have not checked if it went into escrow and sold, but all right, I saw his name on the list, but I'm not sure about exactly when I have the next Zoom call. I assume it depends on how much happens in the real estate, but I think I'm going to work on that next presentation, because we all have to look at, and you're right, actually, Ian, I'm digging out my old slide that showed that people leaving California that retire, or the under 40,000 K jobs, but we do get the tech jobs and the younger people that are making the $150,000, and those are the ones we need to pay for the higher cost homes that the home builders said they would buy. So yeah, there are always deals to make and deals to have, and sometimes it's just about the numbers and turning one property into maybe two, and VA financing, no money down. And with that, I think we got another phone call, and stay tuned. I will announce it in time, and hopefully everybody is well, healthy, and will make a lot of money. Good night, everybody.
Thank you.